Hey folks, today's a good day to try something I've never done before. As many of you know, Patti and I took a little trip to Poland earlier this year and got to see an amazing country. We also got to try a lot of good food. We had sausages, stuffed cabbage, punchkis, and probably my favorite, pierogi. My heritage is Polish. My grandparents all came from Poland. My mom and dad used to cook some Polish foods, but one of the things they never cooked was pierogi. While in Poland, we got to try all sorts of different types of pierogi. It's probably not too great for us because it's probably 100% carbs, but it is tasty. It's hard to believe I never tried to make pierogi ever in my life. Probably comes from the fact that my parents never made it. So I'm changing that today. I'm going to try to make some pierogi. I'm going to start by making the dough, which frankly could be kind of challenging because I'm not a baker or a pasta maker of any sort. Then I'm going to whip up some fillings, and then finally we're going to cook it and taste it. Let's try to make some pierogi. I never grew up making pierogi dough, so I'm going to make it the way my friend Michelle sent me. She gave me a nice little instruction called Homemade Pierogi. I will put a link to this in the description. Seems to be a very simple dough to make. Just flour and salt, add some egg, sour cream and butter. Mix it all together, let it rest for a while, and then roll it out into thin sheets. So let's go ahead and make that dough. I'm going to make my dough in a food processor. I know, please don't turn off the video. I know there are some people that say you can't make pasta dough in anything except your hands, but I'm going to make it in the food processor to keep it nice and easy. This is my first time making this dough. To the food processor, I'm going to add flour, some salt, pulse it a little bit to mix that together. The egg, some melted butter, and strangely enough, sour cream. Now I'll mix this up till it becomes nice and combined. There we go. My counter is nice and clean, so we are going to actually knead the dough on this counter here. It's a bit sticky now, so we're going to knead this here till it becomes a little less sticky. Try not to add too much extra flour. I am not a baker. I very rarely am seen baking anything. That's Patty's gig. But I'll give it a try. This dough is feeling actually really good. In the comments, please let me know how I'm doing. I have a feeling others would do better. Okay. Not a lot of dough, but I'm not going to be making a lot of pierogi. I actually cut the recipe in half. Very important now, we have to let this rest for a while. At least an hour, but up to 48 hours, they say. While this is resting in the refrigerator, I'm going to make our fillings. One of the great things about pierogi is you can fill them with just about anything you'd like. Traditionally, they're usually filled with some sort of potato and cheese mixture. I made these mashed potatoes yesterday. Actually added some cheddar cheese. Traditionally, I guess they use farmer's cheese, but I can't find any of that around here. So there's some cheddar cheese in there, some fresh cracked pepper, and some chives. I'm also filling some of these pierogi with a meat filling. For my meat filling, I'm going to be using some fresh Polish sausage that I made, a little bit of sauteed onion, and for a binder, some egg. When I first started thinking about putting a meat filling in these pierogi, I thought I'll just take some raw Polish sausage and stuff it in there, but Little research I did said you really shouldn't do that. You need to cook your meat first. So that's what we're going to do. I'll add the onions to this to cook them a bit. After I cook this up, I'm going to let it cool off a bit, and then we're going to put it in a food processor to make it very finely ground. We'll use the egg as a binder to hold it together a little bit. The Polish sausage and onions have cooled off a bit now, so now it's time to grind these up. With a little bit of egg for a binder. Not very appealing looking, but I bet you it's going to be tasty. Time to roll out the dough. I've had this resting in the refrigerator for several hours. Have a little bit of flour on my clean counter, and we're going to flatten this out. Now, I don't know how to roll out dough. Pasta dough is new to me, but my loving wife came in the kitchen and told me, use these little rubber bands, they'll help. I guess these are made to put on your rolling pin to get a very consistent thickness of dough. I never knew such a thing existed. We have 1/4 inch, 1/8 of an inch, and 1/16 of an inch. We're going to go with the 1/16 of an inch. Look at that. There, now when I roll the dough, it's gonna not get any thinner than the thickness of this little rubber band. I have a glass here that's 3 inches in diameter. We're going to use this to cut out our pierogi rounds. Put this all back together and roll it out again. As a little reminder, we have some potato filling and also some meat filling. I have a lot more potatoes than meat, so I'm probably going to be filling more pierogi with the potatoes. Well, I do like the rustic look, so I guess that's what we're stuck with right now. One of the hints I got while researching this pierogi thing is don't overfill the pierogi because they'll pop open and you'll have a problem. So hopefully I didn't overfill it there. Stretch the dough over, pinch all the way down each side. It doesn't look too bad, but I think just to be sure, I'm going to use a fork and crimp the edges a bit. There, looks even better. Oops. We'll see how that works. Stretch it over. Pinch, 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 pinch. dough is nice and soft. Now I'm going to crimp these edges. There we go. Okay, crimp the edges. There we go. It's now time to cook the pierogi. We have some potato ones and some meat-filled ones. To cook these, we're simply going to be boiling them in some salted water. Many people just do that. They just boil it. Others take an additional step, and after it's boiled, they'll put it in a frying pan with some oil and some fried onions and crisp them up a little bit. We're actually going to be doing that to our pierogis. And as long as we're on the subject, I think I've been saying pierogi and pierogis incorrectly. Pierogi is the plural of a single pierogi. Sort of like fish and fish. All you English majors out there, correct me if I'm wrong. As the water is coming up to boil, I'm going to render some of the grease out of this bacon. We'll use the bacon grease to fry up our onions. Starting to come up to nice slow boil, so we're going to add our pierogi. I have no idea which of these are potato and which are meat. I guess it's going to be a surprise when we cut into them. The rumor is when these start floating, they're done. We might leave them on just a little bit longer after they start floating. That is looking good. Some of the onion. And how about some bacon? A little bit of sour cream for dipping. My first attempt at making pierogi. Let's see how this turned out. Okay, this looks like a potato one I'm cutting into. Nice. The dough that I chose to use, really well balanced, and putting it in that frying pan at the end to crisp it up, I think really helped it out. The potato mixture, I kept it nice and simple. Mashed potatoes, some cheddar cheese, and some cracked black pepper. Very good. Now let's see if I can find a meat one to try. It's sort of like playing roulette, except with a roulette wheel and a ball you spin. But you know what? I guess you can define roulette any way you want these days. Hey, I'm a winner. I found a meat one. That Polish sausage kick came to me right away. I like using Polish sausage in this. Wow. Try a piece with some bacon, a little sour cream, and some of the meat pierogi. That is a winner. Overall, I'd say my first attempt at making pierogi Turned out okay. Let me know in the comments if you've ever made pierogi. I'd like to know how yours turned out. If you're Polish and your family grew up with pierogi, tell me about that too. I can certainly see why my mom and dad never really made us pierogi. That's a lot of work putting that stuff together. From my understanding, pierogi is served most often around Christmas time. Families get together and have a pierogi making party. I could see how that could be a lot of fun. To my siblings, Mark, Mary, and Kathy, we should give this a try sometime. I had a good day today. I learned a couple things, and hopefully next time I make pierogi, it's going to be even better. I hope whatever you're doing, you're also having a good day. See you next time.